Well, hey, all you wiretappers out there, back here in the studio of Gangland Wire. It's a little extra bonus. I'm working real hard on my YouTube. If you hadn't noticed, don't forget to hit me up on Venmo once in a while, or give me a cup of coffee app, or go to my website and do the donate button, and just any support. If you give me a little money, once a month, I have a call in with all the people that have supported the podcast. And sometimes I just tell stories, or we just talk, I answer questions, and I have guests once in a while. I've had Ron Fino and had Red Wilmette on here, and had Paul Scharf, whose father was killed by oh God, I lost the guy, Lurch, one of the Hole in the Wall gang, Newman, the crazy guy that worked in the Hole in the Wall gang for Frank Culata. So anyhow, we have interesting guests, or we just chat. So if you want to be part of that, why, help me out a little bit. Now today I have kind of an interesting little quick down and dirty show. I'm got a wiretap that I want to interpret for you, because it's all done in code. I always do this stuff in code. So I want to interpret this. I've got another one that's really kind of funny. I'll get that up one of these days, about how they try when they work out this code. They work the code out on the wire, and then they start using it on the wire. And so here's an opportunity, or here's a time when they were using it. Now, what's coming down is Joe Agosto, who is Nick Savella and Tuffy's mole in the Tropicana, and Joe Agosto has set up a stream of skim coming back to Kansas City that has nothing to do with Chicago and the Stardust and all that. This is Kansas City's own stream of skim. It's about 40 grand a month. And there's a local guy in Kansas City named Carl Caruso, and he's nicknamed the singer on the wiretaps. And he comes out 2 or 3 times a month, bringing gambling junkets of people from Kansas City. It sets up the hotels, and if you gamble with so much money and stay on the tables, then you get a free room and some free food and that kind of thing. And so he had this regular scheduled trip going back and forth to Las Vegas, and so it was a perfect cover to bring the skim back. And when they took him off, we found out he's taking about 80 grand or 40 grand a month. They took him off with 80 grand, and that was 2 months skim. So they're getting about 40 grand a month every month out of the trop alone, which, again, like I said, had nothing to do with the Stardust. That was a much bigger skim amount, and that went to Chicago, and some went back to Kansas City. But they're trying to set this up, and so Joe's going to come into Kansas City to meet, and they're trying to set it up, and so I'm going to interpret this wiretap for you, and I'm going to play it a little bit. If you're on YouTube, you can see the captions, and if you're on the audio podcast only, you'll probably be able to understand it. It's pretty clear because it's on a phone. Joe Agosto is at a payphone, I believe, somewhere in the Tropicana or somewhere in Las Vegas, and Tuffy was on the payphone at the Breckenridge Inn over here on the east side of Kansas City, a place that we'd followed him to. And so I'm getting on phones there, and found out, from past traffic, there's a lot of calls back and forth to Las Vegas, and eventually the Bureau gets a wire on it, and we follow Tuffy around. When he goes down towards the hotel, they just back off and call the wire room, and then the wire room, they start listening to all the phones, and as soon as they hear Tuffy's voice on there, then they start turning on the recording and listening. So he's gonna first, Joe Agosto is talking about coming in, and they already kind of know when it is. I think Tuffy says, I'm meeting this evening, and Agosto says, I'm going to see Tom, give him $4.30 tomorrow from here. Well, Tom is TWA, and $4.30 means it's leaving in the afternoon, but it's getting in. It's a landing time only, and that would be 4:30, the landing time only. And so Tuffy acknowledges, yeah, that's all right.
Well, I'll see ya. Hey, what's sweet? I was expecting you to call sooner.
I'm gonna
this evening.
I'm gonna see Tom. Give him a $4.30 tomorrow. From here now.
All right.
I don't know over there, you know what I mean?
All right. Okay.
Then he says, well, maybe it's $8.50. I don't know, or $9.50. I don't know. I don't know over there. All right. You know, it's Tom for sure. And it's 4:30 from here, but it could be 8:30 there. I said, why don't you go pick up Caesar or see Caesar about that time? Tuffy says, all right. Well, what that means is Caesar is him. He always refers to himself as Caesar on the wires. And so, you know, he's telling Tuffy, why don't you go see me about that time? But he's not sure what time is coming in. He said, well, it could be 8:30 or 9:30 over there. So he doesn't know about the time difference.
All right. I don't know over there, you know what I mean? All right. Okay. Maybe it's $8.50. I don't know. $1.50. I don't know. Okay. It's time before $4.30 from here. Okay, man. How you feeling? Okay? Yeah.
But and so they kind of figured this out. And when he says, why don't you go see Caesar about that time? Tuffy says, well, I will, you know, and then he says, you want me to pick you up? Oh, you want me to pick you up? Do it myself. And he says, yeah, you're not doing anything. and so he says, DeLuna says, okay, over by Tom's place. Agosto says, no, yeah. But then he says, over by Mary. Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, over by Mary after Tom. Well, what he means there is after the TWA gets in, he's going to the Marriott. There's a Marriott on the grounds of the hotel, it's the airport hotel. So he'll get a shuttle and go over to the Marriott, and then he wants Tuffy to come by and pick him up. Now Tuffy doesn't really want to pick him up in reality, and they send somebody else, to be quite honest, because they do not want to have Tuffy or Nick Savella to be seen with Joe Agosto anytime.
Why don't you go around to see Caesar by that time?
All right. I will. Go around and see what now, you said?
Go see Caesar at that time.
You want me to do it myself?
Yeah. Because he's not going to have nothing to do.
Over by Tom's place?
Yeah.
Huh?
Over by Mary's place.
Oh, okay.
Over by Mary.
All right. After he finishes with Tom, which would be Lassa de Dover, that guy.
Yeah, right.
That Quacker-Man.
Yeah, right.
All right, I'll check it out.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
See money here, huh?
Right.
Take care.
A normal will see ya.
Yeah.
Well, that's the gist of that wiretaps. You got to be able to understand the codes, and it takes a while to figure out the codes. Now, these guys were so dumb that they worked out the codes. This other wiretap, which I got to put up one of these days, because it's like who's on first between Tuffy and Joe Agosto. They decide that TWA is going to be Tom. I think Bob was going to be Braniff, and Unger was going to be United, and the times would be the landing times only. And he would say, you know, give him $4.30. And so that means landing at 4:30. So it's just kind of a little insight into, you know, how these guys work and their different codes that they use. I put some up before, I believe, about brushing the streets up in Chicago and how that meant to go out and see if there's any cops out there, any surveillance of any kind. It's an ongoing battle between law enforcement, these guys, and they're constantly trying to keep you from finding out what they're doing, right? So anyhow, that's it. Just kind of a little extra bonus kind of an episode here, and I appreciate all your support, and keep coming back, and we'll have more. I got a lot more wiretaps. I'm going to keep putting these up. It's been kind of fun, and I think I like providing people with like a kind of an insight on really how these guys work out of the mouths of the men that did it, out of the mouths of the guys that are making these plans and talking, because it's, you know, what you get on TV is, and in the movies, and many times from all of us experts, and we try to make sense out of it, but this is, you know, this is the real deal stuff. This is how they work. There's no mystery to it at all. Hey guys, thanks for listening to this episode of Gangland Wired. Now, don't forget to like and subscribe down below if you're on YouTube. Now, I started on YouTube, as you all have noticed, I would imagine. If you're on an audio platform like the Apple Podcast app, you can give me a review there. I appreciate that. You can also support the making of each episode by buying me a shot and a beer on your Venmo app. If you have Venmo, that's at Gangland Wire. I have a new way buy me a cup of coffee, there's a link in the show notes to buy me a cup of coffee or two. You can go to my website. You can see all my books and movies that are for sale, or you can donate via your credit card on the PayPal button, or if you have a PayPal account. And if you donate enough, why, you start getting those books and movies and a coffee cup or a t-shirt or whatever you want. And remember, if you or a friend are suffering from PTSD, check out the Veterans Administration resources. Just go to Google and Google PTSD and Veterans Administration, or VA, and you'll find that website, and you'll find there's a hotline, and there's links there to help you find resources to deal with that problem. And remember to look out for motorcycles on the road and stay safe. Bye, folks.